Determine all critical numbers for the function f of x equals cosine of x. Critical numbers are the x values that make the numerator and the denominator of the derivative equal to 0 and are in the domain of the function. The first thing to do is find the domain. F of x equals cosine of x. The cosine of x and the sine of x both have a domain of all real numbers, or negative infinity to positive infinity. The next thing to do is to take the derivative f prime of x. The derivative of cosine is negative sine of x. We now set the numerator equal to 0 and the denominator equal to 0 if there is one. Multiplying both sides by a negative 1 gives sine of x equals 0. Sine of x equals 0 at x equals 0. It also happens at pi and 2 pi and 3 pi and on, but also happens at negative pi and negative 2 pi and negative 3 pi and on that way as well. There's an infinite number of locations where the sine of x equals 0. These can be put together into one statement by saying x equals n pi. Notice that what's with the pi each time is an integer, and it's every integer, negatives, positives, as well as 0. So we can say x equals n pi, where n equals any integer, which will allow for it to be the positives, the negatives, as well as the 0. We now check to make sure that these are in the domain. The domain here is all reals. N times pi, where n is an integer, is always a real number for any integer. All of these are in the domain. All of them are kept. And there are all the critical numbers for the function x equals n pi, where n is any integer.